From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, February the 20th, 2024. As intense fighting continues in Gaza between Israeli troops and terror group Hamas, the IDF announced the death of a soldier who died from critical injuries sustained last week in battle. He is 22-year-old Staff Sergeant Maoz Morel. Yesterday, the IDF announced that 20-year-old Staff Sergeant Simon Shlomov was killed in battle in Gaza on Sunday. The two victims of the terror attack on Friday in southern Israel were named as 23-year-old Yishai Gartner and 27-year-old Sergeant First Class in Reserve Ori Yaish, killed by a terrorist, an Arab-Israeli resident of East Jerusalem, not a Palestinian, as we have reported, who opened fire at a bus stop at the Masmia Re'em junction between Gedera and Kiryat Malachi. Pop star Noah Kirel, who represented Israel at last year's Eurovision, shared that Yaish is her cousin. She said, "The tragic reality has reached me and my family as well." 4 others were wounded in the attack Friday. Kirel, by the way, attended the People's Choice Awards Sunday night in Santa Monica, walking the red carpet in a special yellow ribbon-themed outfit with a huge yellow ribbon sewn into the back of her coat to remind the world of the 134 hostages still being held by Hamas in Gaza. Israel's X account calling it an important message to the world: bring our hostages home. The IDF released footage yesterday of the Bibas family from October the 7th, showing Shiri and her 2 children, 4-year-old Ariel and then 9-month-old baby Kfir, surrounded by armed terrorists in Gaza just hours after they were brutally kidnapped and taken hostage on October the 7th. Their father Yarden kidnapped separately. IDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the footage was found recently by Israeli troops operating in Gaza and was shown with consent of relatives of the Bibas family.
Seeing this young mother clutching her babies, surrounded by a group of armed terrorists, is horrifying and heart-wrenching. But it is also a call for action, that we must bring the hostages home, fast. Those who have the audacity to question our need to operate in Gaza, but don't have the decency, the basic decency and humanity, to demand that Hamas release our hostages first of all. They all should take a good look at this terrified mother, Shiri, clutching her babies. Until Hamas releases our hostages, we will leave no stone unturned until our hostages are home.
The Times of Israel cited Yarden's sister Ofri Bibas Levy telling the Khan public broadcaster today, "We need to shock both the world and the decision makers. Put the family and the hostages back on the agenda. That's why we agreed to it." And the IDF continues to respond to attacks from Iranian-backed Lebanese-based terror group Hezbollah on its northern border, including, the IDF said last night, where IDF warplanes attacked 2 munitions warehouses of terror group Hezbollah, carried out in response to a launch of an unmanned aerial vehicle towards the lower Galilee from Lebanon. The United States today, for the 3rd time since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, vetoed a draft resolution at the United Nations Security Council blocking the resolution which calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. 13 Security Council members voted for the bill, which was sponsored by Algeria. Britain abstained. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, explained blocking the resolution, saying that it could put ongoing sensitive talks aimed at the release of the hostages at risk, and noted an alternate resolution being circulated from the U.S.
While we cannot support a resolution that would put sensitive negotiations in jeopardy, we look forward to engaging on a text that we believe will address so many of the concerns we all share. a text that can and should be adopted by the Council so that we can have a temporary ceasefire as soon as practicable based on the formula of all hostages being released. This temporary ceasefire is critical to getting aid into the hands of Palestinian civilians who desperately need it. We should look towards this text so that we can finally condemn Hamas for their horrific attacks on October 7th, which set this conflict into motion.
Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, February the 20th. At 7 o'clock, Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch explores the notion of freedom. At 7:30, I speak with AJC CEO Ted Deutch about the latest antisemitism report taken just after the October 7th massacre. At 7:50, it's the Yeshiva University Maccabees versus Mount Saint Vincent in the quarterfinals. At 9:30, Aharon Watson on Chayim. At 10, Jeffrey Gurock talks about the Jews of Harlem. And coming up next, the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, February the 20th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.